Coverage of BR6 continues Friday night here, joined by Gio and Ollie. We are shaping up and getting ready for our fourth and final match of the day, held between NIP and INTZ. This match, of course, featuring one of the best teams in the league in NIP and a team that has struggled to find success, it has to be said, recently. INTZ towards the bottom of the table there. We are going to get a quick preview of what the players think of this matchup. On the other side of it, these two co-casters and I will chat to you about what to expect as we head into match 4. So let's hear from the players and then we'll be on with the preview.
Nossa motivação agora é continuar ganhando mais títulos, cara, porque eu acho que uma coisa é ser campeão mundial, que tipo, alguns times já conseguiram, e outra coisa é fazer uma história tipo que ganhar várias em sequência, por exemplo.
Bom, o último confronto com o INTZ foi no consulado, foi nosso penúltimo confronto. Não foi um jogo esperado pela gente, e nosso consulado estava com algumas dificuldades.
Bom, eu acho que o jogo de hoje contra a NIP vai ser um jogo pegado. Eles, obviamente, são o melhor time do mundo, mas que a gente não deve abaixar a cabeça pra nada, não. Acho que vai ser um jogão.
É um pouco chato pra gente, porque principalmente os times vão estudar muito a gente, o que a gente fez pra dar certo. É uma sensação muito boa também, a gente entra muito confiante no jogo, a gente sabe que a gente tá jogando muito bem.
Let's find out where we're going to be playing this match. Our map veto coming in here. Gio, talk us through your thoughts here and what we might expect to see in this fourth and final match of today's coverage.
Well, I think if you're INTZ, you probably want to go somewhere like Oregon because that's one of their stronger maps at the moment. But NIP haven't really been wanting to go there much. Now, the next one you could look at is maybe Consulate, but that is also maybe one that NIP would want to get rid of. So there are a number of different ways that this could go. Just having a look. I mean, NIP, obviously, they've been doing really well on Clubhouse lately. We know that they're incredible on Villa. I would assume that those are going to be maps that they'll want to avoid. But I guess, okay, we're going to Chalet.
Wow, Chalet once again. We've seen a lot of this map throughout, not just today, but yesterday as well. We got our snow boots on. This is really something here. Ollie, what's your response? Excuse me. Whoa. Rewind. Back it up.
Okay, wait. I can spoilers. We are going to Villa.
Okay, a little. We seemed like we got the graphic wrong there. Man, I was ready to go. I was covering. I was like, wow, that isn't what. That's okay. I was ready. Man, it was smooth. Gonna be smooth as butter, and then it wasn't because. I don't know, the butter curdled a little bit. So where are we off to, Gio, and what does it mean?
Villa, and it means that INTZ are in trouble. This is a really good NIP map, and it's not really a good INTZ map. So I'm wondering what the thought process there for INTZ was, because I think this is a huge risk for them.
All right, let's have a look at the actual maps here as they've been banned out. And as you can see, yeah, Villa, the ultimate destination for this one here. Ollie, let's open up to you here, mate, and discuss what NIP are bringing to this game and this map as well. And you know, are you in alignment with Gio here and thinking that this one is not exactly what we expected?
Yeah, I think the Villa certainly surprises us. NIP famously were nearly unbeaten on Villa for an entire year. They lost to Black Dragons a couple of weeks ago, but aside from that, they've been able to stave off all manner of opponents on this map. It's their third most played. So you would expect them to come out here and have a pretty good account of themselves. On the flip side of INTZ, it's somewhere that they play, but it's not somewhere that they win all too much.
Well, we're going to find out shortly enough, my friends. We're going to head down to Villa here for this final match for today's coverage. It's time to get underway. We've got NIP and INTZ standing by. So let's head down to Villa and get underway with the match with Gio and Ollie.
Thank you very much, Riley. We are going to be jumping in now. Fourth match of the night. We do have NIP versus INTZ. NIP are going to be starting off on the defense here on Villa. Flores ban coming in straight away. Not too much of a surprise to see that. Flores obviously holds so much value on this map, especially with the way that NIP like to try and defend it, them holding very powerful positions on the stairways and employing a lot of shields. I wouldn't be surprised here to see INTZ ban out maybe the Wamai or the Jaeger, just to try and challenge that somewhat. NIP they don't tend to change too much how they play onto this map, but no, instead they're going to ban out the mirror. That seems like a bit of an off choice.
You know what? It is kind of wild to see a mirror ban for once. she really does get neglected from the ban phase these days because there are so many operators that you want to get rid of. But I actually don't think it's a terrible idea. NIP have been known to utilize the mirror a lot, particularly on things like AVG defenses, both on something like the aviator wall, but also up towards the statuary wall if they're doing an extended hold towards the north. It's something that NIP use quite a bit. Julio, particularly, you see him on a mirror, decent amount. I'm not too surprised that INTZ want to remove that from NIP's repertoire.
Still, I just think there's better things that they could look to try and get rid of here. They could look to start to focus some of that shield play that we know we're going to see from NIP, and I don't necessarily mean clash. I mean, you know, playing aggressively, playing on those half landings, using the magnets and using Wamai to really start to entrench themselves into those powerful positions. It's something that we see so often from NIP when they're on the defense. Sure, they do occasionally extend with the mirror into sort of trophy statuary if they're playing inside of aviator games, but ultimately it's just like, I just see it as such a strange thing, a real oddity when mirror is banned out. Now, regardless, we're going to move on through. We have a fairly standard lineup here from NIP that they're going to be bringing. They're going to opt for the Cade, as we often speak about that vault wall and how pressured that can get. Typically, they are going to extend over in toward that statuary side as well. As you can see, Muzi just popping a couple of reinforcements down now. Mirror or not, they're going to try and do that and maybe open up a little line of sight into the closet.
I like that they're placing drones down into the basement, because the basement gets used a lot, particularly these days, for flanks. And it's interesting as well, because over time, a lot of people have had a lot to say about how the villa basement kind of gets neglected. Like, maybe we should do something with the basement because it just sort of exists there. But I feel like in recent months, we've noticed more and more it make a kind of an active appearance in the strategies and the rotations that are made by teams. So to have that specifically be focused on by these teams is to see.
Julio going to be looking to assist on this roam game as well. Just sort of playing the halfway house Psycho. He is going to be playing on this main stairs area, but I wouldn't be surprised to see INTZ just entirely avoid it, honestly, with the amount of utility that NIP are willing to invest into that area. It could be somewhere that's just best off left alone. Vitz with some aggression, he's going to find out onto Pino there, taking him out of Astro. Hornetau in position to assist. The down player will be finished off. A further push on in as Hornetau picks himself up too. Muzi, next player to fall. Zach now looking to make a bit of ingress in through Master into Statuary, and he's going to find the frag as well. Julio got one. It will be traded almost instantly, as it was really a consolation prize at that point. The Jackal might be down, but NIP heavily depleted here.
Just 2 players left on the side of NIP. Psycho's holding on to 90. But a lot of these attackers are quite far up. They're just sort of at a deadlock right now. I suppose they're discussing what their next step is going to be. Is Psycho gonna... I mean, he is holding on to that position. He's not rotating back to the site.
Still vertical angles that could be held here as well. So whilst Drunks is going to try and make something happen here, he is going to be held. Psycho playing on 90. Got the ability to maybe get a bit of a flank off, but realistically, with the amount of time that INTZ have spent here and the man count advantage that they had, you'd really hope they'd done something with it before now. Psycho is going to be able to take down Drunks. The Toxic Babe canisters from Kamikaze can now come out as well. Still has one in pocket and can look to deny that push in a little bit further. Hornetow chunked down as the access has been denied for the time being. Zach now trying to make his way on in. Going to deal a bit of chip damage to his teammate as well. Hornetow pushes on through the smoke. It's going to be a bloodbath. INTZ eventually get the job done. Zach pushes on in. Almost teammates or not. Finds the last couple of kills there. A closer round than it needed to be, but a round nonetheless for INTZ here to kick things off.
Oh my god, this is going to be another Chalet Black Dragons MIBR, isn't it? Where we start off by saying, why would they want to go there? And then it turns out that they've just got all this stuff prepped and it's great and everything. I don't know. I highly doubt it's going to be that cut and dry. NIP are historically very good at Villa, but yeah, not the best round for them. And the fact that they lost players as early as they did obviously really came to hurt them. And one thing that NIP have done quite a bit in the past is have those quite decisive rotates back to site when they do lose players, which is why I was surprised to see Psycho still remain on 90 for as long as he did. Ultimately, what they did have available to them simply wasn't enough to hold back the rush in of INTZ when they actually infiltrated into Aviator. And so to return there again is NIP's attempt to right the wrongs of the last round and put a round on the board for themselves.
Now, Gio, remember we used to talk about the sort of the parachute cord that was a shield for NIP? Are they pulling it in round 2?
The parachute cord that was a shield? What?
Yeah, so like NIP bringing a shield, whether it's a Monty or a Clash, was like pulling the parachute cord to like deploy your parachute so you don't crash into the earth.
I don't remember that, but I will believe you. It feels like
as we just see everybody drop out of the lobby. Everyone's crashed. That's it. It is time to hit that rehost button.
Victorious is what it said at the end there. So congratulations on your win, INTZ. That was a truly fantastic game from these players. Unbelievable to see them improve so much that they could take down the World Championships in this game today and on Super Week here on BR6.
Just click that, screenshot it, and there you go. There is the headline. Of course, we only saw one round. We're going to have to get ourselves back into the game. I think it was a VNX that actually dropped out for the side of INTZ, so everything will remain the same. Site and operators. But yeah, what I was the point that I was going on to make, Joe, the sort of panic pick of a shield that NIP used to bring out. It was something we saw them do in stage 2 quite regularly. And we kind of made a bit of a meme about it, like, oh, are they struggling because they're bringing the shield? And, you know, typically they bring the shield and it'd work really well for them. That feels like potentially what we're seeing Julio do already here inside of round number 2 with him playing on the Clash. Because since their, like, recent bout of success at Six Invitational and in the first half of this, well, in all of this stage, aside from the previous game on this map, Villa, we haven't really seen them lean into that shield play all too much. It hasn't been something that they've really started to, you know, crutch onto to rely them a couple of rounds. So maybe they're just sort of slipping back into those ways, and Julio's looking for to give a little bit more assistance in that roam game, because the roam clear was very good then from INTZ.
Yeah, no, it was really successful, and I kind of liked the fact that they didn't rush into anything straight after that. You know, they all kind of stopped. It was like suspended animation while they waited to decide what their next step was going to be. They didn't overstep or anything like that. That it's not to say that the INTZ of the past would have done that, but it's still a subtle, disciplined move that suggests that, you know, they're not just kind of chomping at the bit, which, you know, past INTZ simply wasn't a super coordinated team. Until they got to the very end of stage 1, we saw basically no success from them. So even just small things like that, it's nice to see for a team that we know have had to undergo a ton of improvement over the last few months. And they're all getting themselves back in the lobby, so hopefully it shouldn't be too long before we are back in. Now, we do know that NIP had opted to return back to AVG for this site. Of course, as you mentioned, they brought the shield. Clash was going to be coming along, what was it, 6-picked off of Tachanka?
I believe so, yeah. It was kind of snuck in, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Well, anyway, I suspect that to me that maybe NIP want to play a little bit closer to the site. A Clash, of course, you can utilize her in a number of places, but to me the idea would probably be on like the study door, or looking to hold back anything from study, maybe the top of main stairs, but definitely with more of a focus directly around the site rather than as dear an extension as we had in that first round.
Well, we are back and loaded into the game. We'll switch over to that once we've confirmed everything is good to go and we're all ready, just so that we're not getting lost in animation. But I can see that everybody is in. Everything has to remain the same again. Let's Chanka into the Clash. Very nice. And here we are, back into the match. It's one round up currently, but honestly, very early days indeed. We haven't seen NIP given a chance to really respond just as of yet. And that opportunity comes now. Still rocking the Aviator and Games Room site. The big addition is going to be that Clash.
Well, let's see how they do decide to use it. So they got the electrification on the game's wall. Cool. Now, on the side of INTZ, a lot of intel gathering here. If you look at both the Lion and the Yana that are available, instead of bringing a Zafira tool, they're actually just taking Ashe. So while we spoke a couple of games ago today about how Ashe is being chosen by a couple of teams to use alongside the Zafira, while a little bit rarer these days. Oh, look at that, actually. Not only are they bringing Ashe, but they are not bringing the G36C.
It's a bold move.
That is a shiny Pokemon. So not only are they foregoing the Zafira, but they're actually bringing Ashe with what is kind of considered, ironically, the worst gun of the options that she has right now, just because of the nerfs that the R4C has received of late.
It is a little bit surprising. I think obviously there's gonna be a reason why Zach is rocking that, but it is unusual to see anybody really rocking the R4C at the moment. Not in that it's horrendously bad, just in that there's other things that are better. So we'll see if it has much of an impact. Zach, of course, was a keen fragger in the previous round, and there was a lot of the kills that were coming down to his fair hand. So if we start to see that drop off a cliff, then maybe we know what the problem is. In the meantime, INTZ this time have chosen to deal somewhat with that main stairs shield. It can be quite difficult to try and get rid of, especially without a Zafira. You are going to be looking toward the Zafira for a large part of getting rid of that shield, and not having it could really slow that process down. Now, we can see a lot of utility being used in that direction, but eventually Julio is going to make his way on in. On the Clash, he can now start to provide a little bit of a nuisance and a problem from both sides here. VNX does get away with a little bit of a shoulder peek there. Julio now going to be pressuring the top of those main stairs. So even though the shield's gone, Julio remains, and without significant vertical pressure, it isn't going to be easy to try and remove him.
You can hear the breach charges of the Ashe be sent in. Nice 2k for Zach. Pino and Psycho both to be taken down. And Muzi too. This is the second time now that NIP have been left with just 2 players remaining. The nade to go sent into Vaults to try and flush Julio out, but it's not going to quite do its job as Kamikaze gets to work with the SMG-11. Really, Julio's been forced to whip out the SP-SMG because otherwise he's just relying on Kamikaze to get the kills.
Another situation where NIP aren't in a very good spot here. Toxic Babe kind of going to start to deny a little bit of that access. How long can Kamikaze keep that up for, though? No Toxic Babe's left. It's going to be very difficult to do so. VNX is going to try and lock in that plant. Julio is left as the sole survivor. VNX with the swing there. You know exactly what he was going for. He knew that the player was going to be inside of the vault, or at least was being very thorough and checking every single corner. INTZ 2 rounds in a row here. This is not the game that we were expecting.
No, not thus far. I know it's still really early, but it's still rather uncharacteristic. It does make me wonder how much that mirror ban is having an effect. Not that I think that that is the sole reason why NIP would ever do well on this site necessarily, but it is something that they really do like to use. And if you consider the extra information that you can gain from playing a mirror, particularly on AVG, wherever you place the windows, not having that is actually quite a big deal if you're a team that usually likes to employ it. I like that NIP have decided to go up to trophy statuary. Don't bother continually beating your head against a cement wall if you're struggling on one particular site. Move on, go to something else. They'll probably have some off-site play here. Pino's going to have the Vulcan shield. I would like to see him playing with the C4, but it could be that he ends up being placed in Astro rather than downstairs. Psycho, however, I will expect to be much further elsewhere on the map and have an extension. Now, Muzi and Pino, and Psycho for that matter, are all sitting on 0 kills. And I know that Julio is as well, but Julio's taking a lot more of a supportive role. Muzi and Pino are the two that are really big when we look at something like that, because they've been the ones that have been caught out in these early altercations and not ending up on the favorable sides of them. And that needs to change soon, because that has left NIP in these very vulnerable positions in both of the last 2 rounds that have come to bite them, because then you're relying on people like Kamikaze and Julio to clean up the mess that's left, because all of INTZ are still around.
Julio going to be inside of the bathroom. He looks fairly well equipped to stay there for a while. Got some Surrey gates and reinforcements, some soft walls as well to peek from. Be a bit difficult to get him on out of there. Lion Scan now going to give the attackers any sort of information that they require, although I don't think anybody moved for it, so it's essentially just an early warning system like, yep, we got a lion, what are you going to do about it? C4 there, going to get ripped and tossed on out, but we can see it really isn't going to deal anybody any harm or even cause any concern. It's just another C4 that you don't have to worry about when push comes to shove later on. Psycho may be in a position to head on a little bit of rotation, as Muzi's going to be playing below as well, so Drunks really needs to watch himself here. He can search out a lot of this information on the IQ scanner, but he isn't going to be entirely untouched there. There's a big chance he's going to get flanked.
Kamikaze stepping out a bit from behind the shield. It's not super over-aggressive, but I still worry about putting yourself directly in that line of sight when you have utility that can protect you. At the end of the day, INTZ have got to make their way in. As you mentioned as well, you got the vertical pressure from Drunks down below. The droning out through the kitchen too. They're going to find Pino, who's now got to go for that rotation. Now, I wonder if INTZ do have at least one of those pre-plays down here, so they may know where Pino is looking to come up. The E1D is going to stop him in his tracks for now.
Julio's had to retreat into sight now, but there's worse places to be as the smoke. You can cut off any access into bathroom. 30 seconds left, another lion scan, and the final one coming in. It is going to spot a couple of players out, but it isn't really going to do any good for INTZ. Psycho, he finds the scoreboard and takes down Vitz. There's a bit more information to be had here. Zach has to try and push on him, but eventually will be getting taken down by Muzi as well. The kills have traded to an equal 2 versus 2. Onatau downed inside of the Vulcan shield, and the splash damage from that Muzi. He's got some of the most clutches in the entire league, and he's going to chalk another one on his record there. Nice little 1 versus 1 to shut things up.
Good to see as well. He's finally put some kills on his tally. Something that he had not done in the first 2. And NIP are going to be going back down, not back down, but they're going to be going down to the kitchen for the first time rather than heading back to AVG. So I suspect that getting that win on Trophy will give them a nice little boost moving forward. They're actually going to be running a very similar setup this time. So we're not going to be seeing any of that traditional pulse play, I suppose. There will still be the C4s in the hands of Pino and Kamikaze, most likely. Interestingly, no smoke. going to be relying on the Frost for that more anchor play, I suppose. So no real direct plant denial outside of the C4s, which is interesting to me because I feel like this is one of those sites where, let's say that the attackers make their way in, they start planting. It's very hard to have like a direct line of sight onto where a plant could be taken that you can do with a weapon. Having a Toxic Babe canister or a yokai drone is going to be significantly more beneficial to you because you don't necessarily have to have the direct line of sight onto the plant. And I feel like just the way the kitchen is shaped, the fact that the upstairs is most likely going to be have its control taken by the attackers, meaning that you as a defender aren't going to have the vertical line of sight, I feel like it would be quite difficult. So I guess here for NIP, the idea is that you're going to kill everybody before they actually get to the point of planting, and make it much more hard for them to enter into the site in the first place when you look at things like Kaid, the Frost Mats, the Surya Gates, rather than necessarily focusing on plant denial.
Well, the lineup for INTZ hasn't changed all too much. So, they're obviously feeling pretty confident with a bit of a one-size-fits-all approach here, and it worked for them in the first couple of rounds, but how consistently can they rely on winning these gunfights? There we go, we get a bit of an answer. Pino, he's going to be able to find some early success onto Zach. No potential for that to be traded either. Psycho is just getting pushed, and everybody seems to be falling. Julio coming out with the confident swing now as well. This could be a record round, and it will be. It's going to be a flawless blink and you miss it stuff here from NIP.
I guess I was right. Their whole plan was to just ensure no one got to even see the site in the first place, and it worked. So, great. Good one from NIP there. They actually had pretty decent extension out from the site as well, and Psycho especially. The value that he got on the Vigil, really good. It was something that he didn't get so much on rounds 1 and 2. He still came away from the first 2 rounds with no kills. So returning back to the site that was played on the first 2 rounds and Psycho returning to Vigil, I'd really like to see some repeat of what he showed in that last round there. Just seeing what it is they've got. They're not going to be returning to the clash strategy, which I think is a good thing. One of the things that really hurt NIP about that strategy was, A, the Clash itself didn't really do much to hurt INTZ or slow them down. Let's be honest, the Clash could have been anybody else, and it probably wouldn't have done much. But the primary thing is that when you were left with just Kamikaze and Julio at the end, Julio couldn't really provide as much value to assist Kamikaze as he maybe could have on any other operator. So, for me, it's a good idea for them not to be investing in the Clash once again. However, you look at the side of INTZ, now they're going for something a bit more colorful. You know, it's been a while since we've seen a Finker in pro play. As somebody who used to cast APAC North, I feel like I'm being transported back to some nostalgic times. But not just that, they've also got Amaru too. And to me, I'm assuming that Amaru is going to be for a 90 corridor approach. I guess we'll find out.
I think that's the exciting one, isn't it? Out of the two is the Amaru. I think the Finker kind of assists that, and you know, you go with the Gara hook, you get yourself in, and then you get the Finker stim boost, and hopefully don't miss a shot. But we'll have to see how it gets deployed. There's always the chance of getting up through the 90 hatch as well. Obviously, they do work both ways. Pino, what about that timing? Zach just gets slapped from the middle of that main door. Caught out in no man's land. Pino, the spidey sense to peek at the perfect time. Psycho eyeing up a run out as well. We can see the silhouette on our view. He could see some success if he goes for this one. It looks as though he's just waiting for a bit of information from one of his teammates. The drone from Vitz is going to be working. He does have a chance here at making something happen, but he's going to play quite safe for the time being. Doesn't want to throw the advantage. NIP have already gone themselves.
Dude, Psycho repping the mouse sports skin. I dig it. Oh no!
Oh, what about that timing?
Oh no, that was so bad. And now Vitz can just go straight up. They've been boosted by Finker as well. Muzi's feeling the pressure. There's the C4 from Pino, but it doesn't find anybody.
Well, Vitz is going to be able to collect the diffuser and chase Julio out of statuary. Julio now just inside of Astro. He's going to look to try and make an approach. He's going to have enough time. He can pretty much do whatever he likes here. He could flank down. Vitz is going to set up that drone as a flank drone just so that he can get an idea of what is going on and where Julio's movements are taking him. Drunks, though, he's got ideas of his own. He's actually inside of the site. He doesn't have the diffuser, but he's got Finker and the LMG, and he's going to be getting himself a couple of kills. He's now got Pino to go up against. Julio has made that full rotation, and he's going to come up these main stairs. Pino inside of the vault. Drunks has forgone the site control and instead got himself into trophy, but into study, but it doesn't really matter because the plant has started to go down. Pino, no, he's going to miss his shots. He will eventually find one. The diffuser was going down in and amongst all of that as well, but the LMG from Finker. Oh, it's going to do a lot of the hard work there inside of that round. Drunks, he has made plenty happen there. A bit of a confusing one, I think, with the way that we saw a lot of the positioning come down, but a scrappy round that Ints get over the line.
I mean, yeah. It was something. NIP are happy to just move straight on to trophy. AVG has not been a fortuitous site for them whatsoever. So it makes sense for them to just move on. Go to somewhere that you know has worked. Trophy did work for them back in round 3. They had a pretty solid go at it. They got the win on it. Feel a lot more comfortable there. Now, Ints are going to be changing things up slightly. They're still leaning into the Lion. They don't have a Yana this time. And they're going to be bringing a Capitão. And I'm actually interested to see how well this is going to serve them. If they can flush those players of NIP out of the positions that they're taking. You know, especially if, let's say, and I obviously don't know if this is how they plan to use the Capitão or not, but let's say they want access to trophy and they have master control, you could send those bolts straight through Skylight. Because, you know, that's just the way that the map is laid out. So you have a lot of options for where you can send the bolts. It's just about where they deem it to be the most worth their utility, I suppose.
I really like the Capitão. I think it has a lot of use here. Very seldom do we get to see Capitão regularly. We get to see him every now and then. He is that sort of niche pick that players will start to lean into if they've got a certain idea in how they want to try and take things. But let's see where Drunks decides to use it today. We have seen some sort of strange approaches historically with Capitão and just sort of smoking off into trophy and jumping through pig window and stuff like that. So there's a chance that we get to see something a little bit unusual of that sort of a nature. But for the time being, it's going to be a fairly standard approach here. Hornetau going to be removing the surrogate inside of the bathroom. Having an opportunity to drone on in. VNX as well. Will be an Electroclaw on the wall, but with half of the wall being left open anyway, it removes a little bit of the need and pressure to fully open the wall, and it instead makes it a bit more difficult to get into master initially.
Again, looking to clear down below. Do they know of Pino's location? I suppose the answer here is a resounding no, as Pino gets a nice easy kill onto Zach, but I don't think does he know about where the second is? That's Hornetau. No, well, I mean, he knew where he was, but the flash ensures that Hornetau wins out the 1 versus 1. Muzi is still downstairs. Now, it's interesting to me that Ints hadn't droned out Pino, because they've been pretty thorough in their droning, particularly down in kitchen so far. So it makes me wonder, are they even aware that Muzi is down here with them?
Well, for now, yes. Vitz has been able to take Muzi down. So despite losing Zach on the entry, Ints have done a really good job of trading that one back and responding. Now we're going to see a hop in come in. How does Hornetau get that kill? And the second onto Julio. Psycho left as the last alive. He's inside of Astronomy. And he knows that he's going to be getting pushed from multiple angles. Hornetau, what a round he has had. 3 kills there. The push through, the initial kill at the hard left angle. And then pushing through onto Julio. Impressive stuff there from Ints. I mean, it hinged on him hitting his shots and really sort of coming up with the goods there, but it did enough to get them the round. A 4-2 split there on the attack as well.
No, that was a really good half from INTZ. And yeah, I also commend Hornetow as well, especially as in the last couple of weeks, we've had some games where he simply hasn't looked like he's living up to what we know of this player. You know, don't forget, coming into this year, Hornetow came from a different roster. He came in on his own to join INTZ. He was sort of come in as this experienced, point. I want to say anchor, but I don't mean anchor as in the role within Siege. I mean anchor as in as a teammate. And he was supposed to provide this experience and be really the person around whom they were building this team. And at times, it has looked really good. And we saw that at the end of Stage 1, for example. But in a lot of Stage 2, he hasn't necessarily shone in the way that we've seen him to do so in the past, particularly not when he was on Black Dragons last year. So seeing him have rounds like that is actually really nice. Because, you know, if you can overcome these players from NIP, awesome. Now, one thing that I do want to say, especially as we see NIP preparing to also come in with a thinker and do something a little bit less orthodox, is I think we have to address the fact that for NIP, they're in the Cobra Elite 6. Now, if we think back to Stage 1, last stage, NIP had a really up and down season because they knew they didn't need to overexert themselves. And they knew they didn't need to show so much because they were already in Copa. Like, they got in... it was actually quite late in the stage, but they got in and they didn't want to show things because of SI. I think they're in the same position here now. So while INTZ have been playing really well, I think it partially comes down to the fact that NIP are purposefully not playing their A game.
This is their most played map, though. Like, they are known so well for the Villa. Like, I just don't know why. Like, why would you pick this to be a map that you start to hide stuff on? Like, everyone knows pretty much everything there is to know about this map.
I don't think it's about them trying to hide things on Villa. I think they just don't need to play... Like, they don't need to go out their way to play amazingly.
Well, they're certainly not doing. Muzi's going to fall there. VNX finding that opening kill. Let's see if it is going to be a trend that continues onto this defensive half for INTZ, if they're going to be able to start picking up rounds successfully here as well. Line scan, but nothing really to worry about, especially for VNX. He's going to be on these east stairs. He does have a player coming in through statuary. Could be getting pinched as well from below, so certainly a lot of angles to watch out onto. Zach could be in a position to assist. Gets himself out of action for a second, but he will eventually be taken on down. Zach didn't quite have the sufficient cover there. He will fall for it. Hornetow, however, he's going to make a clean sweep. Takes out two. Pino has to just push on through. We'll go straight through the Surya gate. Hornetow, he gets gifted a triple. There's potential for a quad here for him as well. Julio's going to start to make his way on up. There's going to be a prone player. Hornetow eventually will be cut down. Julio desperately trying to pre-fire the diffuser at the top of the stairs, so he could try and do something with that, but he hasn't got a great deal of health. Drunks has still got a Toxic Babe canister, and there's only 35 seconds left, so Julio, it could be a time to steadfast on the stairs, maybe pad the stats, or just try and break these down, but it's increasingly unlikely that he's going to be able to get the job done here. He's slowly but surely getting pinched from both sides. Going to be Zach to find that final kill. INTZ continue a bit of a streak here against NIP.
Well, I mean, they're looking good. They're only one round now away from match point. And that would be quite a significant match point as well, because if they were to finish NIP on a 7-2, cool. That's insane. They're going to be going to Trophy for the next one. Let's see how this goes, because NIP, they're looking like they want to bring the Thinker back in. Thinker and Lion. So, you know, we've got the entire Chimera gang all up in here. Muzi didn't really get a chance to play a ton of what Thinker can bring because he got brought down as one of the earliest kills onto NIP in that last round. So assuming that he can actually survive longer than he did last time, I'd like to see what NIP can do off the back of those boosts. And, you know, I've only just seen, I didn't actually notice they were bringing a Jackal along as well. So the Lion plus the Jackal really wanting to hunt down these players. boost themselves up, and then I guess just destroy them.
Yeah, that's certainly a rough combination. It really strikes a memory of sort of old G2 on Bank of the Lion. I don't know why. I don't know if that was like one of the first games that I saw it, one of the first games that it happened, but I just remember it being in Lion's like original released state as well.
Oh.
Like absolutely horrendous.
My first the season in which I bought Siege on PC, because I played the beta on PS4 way back in the day, but the season I bought Siege on PC was Operation Chimera. So that was like my introduction.
Oh gosh. It says a lot about the game that you still stayed. Like, it's obviously got a bit of something going for it, you know, because it wasn't... Lion coming out wasn't the greatest thing that ever happened, honestly. I think he's in a much better place now.
The next season was Parabellum, and we have Maestro, and, you know, he's beautiful, so...
There we go.
Made up
it
for
all
it.
balances out. We've seen a lot of Lion played tonight, and we see quite a bit of Lion played in Brazil overall. And I think it assists this sort of aggressive nature and this information-heavy game that we've gotten ourselves to. Pino has got some barbed wire ahead of him, so it's going to give the game away if he's going to try and sneak up on anybody inside of Astronomy. In the meantime, there isn't really going to be anyone there directly. It's going to be Drunks just dipping in between Trophy and Statuary. Pino now just worried about the vertical as he does start to get pressured a little bit. NIP not really in any hurry to try and execute here, though.
Which, I mean, is probably kind of a good thing. It's better to save yourself and not get caught out like you did last time. Zach might be finding himself in an altercation here. Sees the shoulder, but the pre-fire isn't quite enough to get around the door frame, so he's going to have to retreat slightly. Kamikaze is pushed up pretty far here into the bathroom, and so far I don't think anybody knows where he is. There isn't really anyone dedicated to a defense there in Astro. Zach finally pushes up, and he might be able to flank round into the bathroom.
Zach's in a really good position there to try and make something happen, but VNX is going to be able to find Pino. I'm not sure how he snuck past there. Kamikaze eventually gets taken on out as well as a brilliant crossfire was set up by INTZ. Zach just lied in wait inside of that master bedroom, and he comes in to grab that final frag. INTZ have got themselves onto a match point here against NIP.
It literally is the same situation as Chalet. It is now, where you're like, oh, why would they want to go there? And then actually it turns out that they're about to win. Maybe. I mean, NIP could just like suddenly switch it on and come back guns blazing. But
I mean, imagine.
Yeah, we'd be here for a while, but you know, you never know. INTZ have been playing pretty well so far. NIP, they're sticking with this whole thinker thing. It's going to be a living room library defense, though, for INTZ, and I mean, it's ballsy. I guess they have the rounds to play with.
It's one way of looking at it, but
yeah.
it is by no means a 1-2 or... I mean, it can be a third pick site, but it's certainly not a number 1 or number 2. Typically.
I mean, this is number 3.
Oh yeah, of course, because we had AVG, honestly. I'd love a thermometer in this room right now.
I am feeling the same way. So the window in my room is quite big, but the actual part you can open is maybe about 6 inches like tall. So
it's like a greenhouse.
My room is unbearably hot. And also bear in mind, those of you who don't know, the UK is a very humid country. So we've had like 60% humidity today. And just been stuck in this little greenhouse.
It's just not built for the heat. That's the thing. I got like the fan going on in the background, but it's
you
not
have
like...
a fan? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also the lights.
Yeah. The cameras, the action, all of it.
I love it. Well, it's alright. It's heating up in the game. It's heating up in the server, Ollie, and that's what matters. Is it heating up though? Because NIP haven't really been.
I mean, it's not. It's kind of heating up in terms of it's going against what a lot of people's expectations of this game would have been. I don't think that there's many people that predicted INTZ to win this one today, and they are poised, ready to do it right now. NIP just they're just droning. They're just not doing a lot. You know, they've got themselves in, they're dipping themselves back out again. There's not been a very clear approach to this site. We know that trying to attack onto this objective, you're going to need to take vertical control. There's so many powerful angles in Vault. That's where Drunks is playing. And NIP are just moving exceptionally slowly here.
Was that a default cam, Oliver?
Better not have been.
I'm pretty sure it was a default cam.
Not on my watch.
Come on, NIP. You're world champions. All right. Holding the vertical angle down through Vault. This is pretty standard. We've got these walls open at the end of the site. Also kind of standard, I guess. It's interesting to me that we're not really seeing a dedicated clear from NIP. Look, if you leave Drunks up there, that's what happens. He kills Pino.
Well, Moosey's going to find one back as a trade, as Zach will fall. The LMG is going to be kind to him there. The site being pretty much wide open now as well means that Kamikaze could look to try and push on through. There's going to be some Toxic Babe canisters that go in, but it's going to be a C4 from VNX that does the damage. Hornetow as well. A nice long angle there. Julio, the next to fall. Psycho. We know that he's very capable, but is he capable of a 1 versus 4 to keep his team in it, or is history going to repeat itself? INTZ about to beat NIP yet again here, the same way they did inside of stage 1. Psycho, he's going to find one onto VNX. Looking to move on through. He doesn't have a great deal of time to work with. Vitz! He's going to be the player to find the final kill. Vertical was being held. Multiple crossfires established there. INTZ, what a performance! They've dismantled NIP here on Villa. 7-2 the scoreline. And as stage 1, in stage 2, INTZ have beaten NIP again.
Taken NIP to really their stomping grounds and stomped them into the ground. No, it was a really good game from INTZ, and nice to see them flourishing and continually improving as well. I do have my suspicions that maybe it wasn't, you know, the ultimate game from NIP. It was something that we saw them do last stage when they were looking to kind of save themselves for SI, I think. But regardless, it puts points on the board for INTZ. It gives them a win. And NIP don't really have to worry about slipping at all because, hey, guess what? They're already qualified for the Cobra Elite 6.
Yep, certainly a strange position that we find ourselves in, but at the end of the day, INTZ, they can only play the game of Siege that is in front of them. And they did just exactly that. Now INTZ, a team that really turned it on toward the end of stage 1. They seem to be doing the same here and now, and these points are going to mean something, especially with how tight it is at the bottom of our standings. We're going to bring Riley back in here. We'll have a discussion about that game, and we'll set some expectations for what is to come tomorrow.
What an incredible performance there from INTZ. Not something that I think any of us expected. You know, if INTZ were going to come and give a good account of themselves, challenge NIP, I think we would have been looking at, you know, maybe pushing overtime or something close to at least a 7-5, not a 7-2 here from a team that sort of languishes towards the bottom end of the table. Well, languish is obviously the wrong word here. They've taken down one of the best teams in the contest in the entire competition and really just went from strength to strength there. It was incredible to see, Gio. This performance from INTZ was, again, something that I think just came out of left field for all of us.
No, and I agree with you. And it was really nice as well, because as you say, INTZ have not, I mean, the last victory they had like that was over MIBR, which, you know, it's kind of a bit of an anomaly. The 2 games they played after that, INTZ suffered a 7-1 loss both times. So yeah, they've had some tough games. I'm just trying to see if they've had any other victory that's that strong, but I actually, no, they haven't at all. The only other victory they had was an 8-7. So this really is the best game that they've had, because I was going to say it's against a real team. I don't mean to be like nasty about MIBR, but I mean, they come with an asterisk, right? Like, I think it's fair to say they come with an asterisk. NIP, world champions, they've just beat them 7-2. And yeah, it was the best victory that they've had this whole stage.
Yeah, a huge bow to the string of INTZ here, taking down. I mean, look, you know, Ollie, I want to circle back to the comments that you made before. Maybe this isn't NIP at their best. Maybe they are kind of on cruise control. You know, maybe they're saving their the best stuff for the you know, higher profile tournaments that are coming up. But still, 7-2 is quite a drubbing for a team of NIP's caliber here.
It is, and I think that, you know, we got to be careful in how we sort of build this one. You know, INTZ have done a really good job there of coming out and getting the win. And as I've said, they've played the game and they've played the team that was in front of them. NIP are a team of competitors, and they're never really going to, or they shouldn't ever really be going into a game with an intention of losing or not really bothered about the result. And I don't suggest that that's what they've been doing here today. I genuinely do think that they got beat. It's just an unfortunate circumstance that you find yourself in when you just know NIP to be a very capable side, and you see them play like that, and you're just a little bit like, guys, like, what's happened? You are well known for this map. You are well known in how you play it. I think that if they were trying to hide something, they would have potentially taken us to a different map, not one of their most played and most successful maps. So a bit of a strange one, really. I think NIP maybe sitting there scratching their head. Obviously, with how much NIP have played Villa, there's a very good chance that INTZ were well prepared to come into this one, and they had done a lot of homework in what they were trying to do, and some of the takes were very well polished and well accomplished. A lot of it came down to gunfights, and it was something that NIP just weren't winning today.
Yeah, particularly some of the gun work from Hornetower there was so impressive. I mean, look, INTZ came to party, and we're going to chat with JP now from the victorious team and get a bit of insight as to how, you know, the team might be feeling in the wake of such a win. JP, thanks for finding the time to join us, mate. The mood must be very high amongst your team after pulling off a stunning 7-2 victory. Talk us through the mood in camp at the moment.
Hello, guys. Oh, the mood is better. So, was a good game, but we can't just relax right now. We are not in a good situation, but better mood, of course.
JP, I'm really curious. What was it that inspired you guys to want to go to Villa, knowing that it's such a strong map for NIP?
It's a strong map for them, but it's a strong map for us as well. So they didn't change that much for their last game, so we pretty know everything they going to do. So it's not a surprise for us to play Villa, and we scream a lot against them on Villa, so we knew a lot about their game, and we changed a little bit of we did the last game, so kind of not predict of our side, but they are very predictable actually.
Yeah, I think that's something that we sort of noticed inside of the cast. NIP are a team that are very good at doing the same thing over and over. But you guys seem to have that little bit of adaptation there, which was really nice. You guys have got a really big game tomorrow against W7M. Is there any thoughts going into that one? Obviously, you both sitting at that sort of lower part of the standings. And the way that W7M have been playing at the moment, they've impressed us on occasion. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, it's a very important game for us to get a little bit of distance between us and them, and we're going to do everything we did today. We do our homework and hope to come out with the victory.
Well, JP, look, mate, a tremendous performance from you and your boys today. Congratulations. We're looking forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. Best of luck for the rest of the weekend, mate.
First, goodbye, guys.